This is Julie Henricus. I'm the Executive Director of Sisters in Crime, and I am delighted to be talking to you today. We do Tuesdays live, and we have a author come in and have conversations and sort of give some tips about writing. What's really interesting about writing is that you can have 5 people talk about the same subject. Say it's plotting, and you're going to have 5 completely different conversations. And we're so grateful for all of the members of Sisters in Crime who can contribute to these conversations. As I mentioned, I am the executive director, and I wanted to remind folks about a couple of upcoming deadlines. First of all, the Anthropic Settlement. AnthropicSettlement.com. If you have a book on the list of works that were pirated by Anthropic and used to train their generative AI, you have until March 30th to file a claim. So go to that website and file a claim. This is in many different genres, and this is a lot of different authors. So if you haven't heard about this, it's AnthropicSettlement.com. And if I'll put the link in the show notes, but also if you have any other questions about it, you can reach out to them. But make sure you make the deadline, and that is March 30th. On March 31st, our Eleanor Taylor Bland Award submissions close. The Eleanor Taylor Bland Award is for emerging crime writers of color. It's a $2,000 award, and you do not have to be a member of Sisters in Crime in order to submit your works. You just have to not have published more than 2 novels or 10 pieces of short fiction. So please spread the news wide. You've got till March 31st to submit your information. Go to our website, and you'll be able to find out more about exactly what needs to happen. But please let people know that this is open, and it's open till March 31st. So there's still time to pull things together and to submit your information. Again, $2,000. And any emerging crime writer can apply, whether you're a member of Sisters in Crime or not. If you are a member of Sisters in Crime and you're interested in either being a mentor or a mentee in 2026, then March 26th, which is Thursday, is the deadline for applications. So the program runs from May 15th to October 15th. You will need to be you don't need to. The agreement is that mentors are not going to read work and not going to reply to do it. It's to support and to have a framework for accountability. And it's an hour a month, so it's not a huge commitment for mentors, but it's been a very successful program. And so that is something that we want to really make sure we're still letting folks know about. And if you're interested in being a mentor or a mentee or both, please submit your application. Again, March 26th, we're going to close it, and then we'll start doing the matches in early April to let folks know so that they're ready to go when the program opens. So I am really thrilled and pleased to be talking to folks today, and I'm looking forward to a conversation that is going to be helpful to other people. My guest isn't here right now, so I'm going to talk about 5 things that you should think about as you're getting ready to query or to pitch your novel, in case you are in that place. I'm currently teaching a class about this, but I also think about it a lot for me and for other people. The publishing world changes all the time, and you need to be ready to change with it. But no matter what path you take, and there's so many ways of being published. Being a writer is one skill set and one thing to think about, but being published is a different, it's a different part. You control your writing career. Your publishing career, you can't always control. So this is something that that you need to think about, and you need to be able to have the tools ready and to be ready to go. So I am actually going to conversation, and we're probably going to change it a little bit, but I will be back at you with my pitching and getting ready, thinking about how to take on the business. But this is going to be part of the conversation that we're going to have with Elle as well, because she is going to talk about taking different elements of different genres, hopefully, and she will be having that conversation. So here we go. You must all be getting so sick of seeing me just pause and poke at my phone as I'm having these conversations. So let's see if we can go live with Elle. If not, we'll figure out the tech on this, and we will have, oh, there she is. Hello, Elle. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I'm so glad to see you. This is always a moment of, reading my phone and figuring out in the world of tech. But thank you for being live with us today. Can you introduce yourself to folks and let them know a little bit about your work?
Yes, hello, my name is Elle Jauffret. I write mysteries that combines multiple elements from different genres. I'm born and raised in France, as you can hear. And my first novel, my debut, was nominated for an Agatha Award last year. And so I was invited once to write a keynote, to present a keynote on combining multiple genres elements in a single story. So I'm here to share with you what I learned and how you can do it and the way I apply also it.
So I love this topic because we were just talking about, and I was talking about, and I will talk some more to folks about this probably in another episode. But, the combining of different genres and different elements is actually a lot of books are doing that now. And it can be exciting for people. You still have to understand the rules of the road for the genres that you're writing, but combining elements can refresh or make it exciting or add things. So go ahead and let us know what you learned and give some advice.
Yeah, I think most of the things, like when you combine story elements, you can write about everything you want, everything you like. So you cannot say, what should I, pick and choose? You can say, hey, it can be a buffet. But of course, as a buffet, you don't want too much of dessert. You want it to be balanced. So it's very important, as I explained, it's very important when you write the different elements, you have to one main element. So it's very important let me check my notes because I was just working like 5 minutes ago. Yes, so you need to have a hierarchy, to follow a specific hierarchy, because not all elements are equal. You have a spine, a structure, and everything. You have one main element. So it's called the spine. You have to ask yourself, what is the spine of my book and what governs the story? So, for example, Harry Potter is a fantasy for middle grade, for middle graders. And so if you realize the spine is a mystery. It's about finding clues, looking for things, solving riddles and puzzles. So the spine is a mystery. So everything else is a fantasy, is a coming of age story. Everything else should support that spine. So it's very important.
Whoops. We lost. Wait, are you here? She's working on her. Yes, there
Okay,
she's back.
okay.
So
So
understanding the spine,
yes,
which is the major way you tell the story.
yes. So you have one, and then, as you said, it depends on the tropes of what you want to write. A romance will have always a happy ending. So,
Mhm.
and so people, they meet, they come closer, they come apart, they come closer, and eventually they come together. So you have to be sure that they do not compete. And that the skill requires to make sure they do not compete. Because you don't want, for example, to write an element with, you want to have a cozy mystery. And so you have the grandmother and the grandfather in the kitchen cooking with their kids, and you want it to be like a thriller. And she goes down the kitchen, and suddenly she step onto a torture scene. You can do that unless it's for comical shock. You know, you have to be very specific. You don't have a genre shift. It's called a tone whiplash. So to make sure you are not shocked and people don't say, oops, no, that's a story, a romance, oops, and that now a thriller, and oops, everything should be fluid. You need to have elements to make it fluid. Yes.
Yeah. And yes, and that's so. But you go on, and then I'm going to have a couple of questions for you.
Oh, okay. So it's very important for me nowadays because uh, people ask me, how do you combine elements? And yeah, no, I did. So I'm like, oh, it's just because I love entertaining stories, but I love to learn. I love to learn. I could be in school all the time without exams, of course, if I could. And I think it's the best way. So I'm telling people when they want to combine genre, they don't have to automatically try to research some things they found interesting. Something about each one of us, or which one of the readers, each one of you has something specific about them that they know. If you have a passion for Star Wars, a passion for anything, a passion for even a taxidermy, teach us, have one of your character embed those elements and share them with us. So because that passion, for example, if someone loves Star Wars and you love it, the person will go, I don't know, at night and they see shape. They can see a shape of someone. Oh, is someone there? Or they can say, oh, it's a falcon, or it's a an element for there. You can have those elements crumble up, that dot the stories that make it more alive, and we learn and we share that passion with you.
I um I love the thought of really being thoughtful about how you're combining these elements and making sure that you understand the tropes. So, your example of the cozy, if you're writing, your spine is a cozy novel. Torture or death of pets or things like that aren't going to be part of your novel, but you can have suspense, or you can have thriller elements, or you can have horror to a degree. You just need to understand the tropes for the main spine, and that's what you're saying, right? Correct?
Yes. Every other element support the spine. For example, in my mystery, it's a mystery, but there are elements of cooking. So when she cooks, it's because she's a private chef. That allows her to go interview suspect without being obvious. It allows her to enter spaces where nobody else can enter. There are also elements of police procedural, but it's just, no, she's an attorney. She was a former attorney. And because of her skills, she can pick up which element will be necessary to catch the killer. People say, "Oh, that's great, it's them." She will say, "No, those are not elements to hold in court." So she has to go forward. Everything, all who she is, allows her to insert a new element in a story. It's why it's very important. The easiest way to combine multiple elements in a story is to give all those characteristics to your main character. And for example, in let's say um, in Harry Potter, it's about friendship, it's about magic, it's about growing up, and it's about danger. So every element is embedded in Harry. He has no parents, so he's leaking love. He has no friends, so he's about friendship. He discovers he's a magician, so there the magic is in it, and it's always also about isolation. So it's about the setting of an academia compared to him growing up as an outcast. So all those elements about him allow us to all those elements put pressure on a man's spine, on a mystery. Can you trust people? Does he
Yeah.
have friends? All those, all those sub-genre elements put pressure on that spine. It complicates it. It makes it easier. It creates twists and turns constantly.
And Elle, I mean, I'm going to loop back to what I was talking about before because this actually goes into this. As you're pitching a novel that has multiple elements, you can pitch that novel different ways depending on who you're talking to and how you're going to be approaching it. Because again, if your spine is a cozy mystery, then that can be one way to pitch it. But if you have a former attorney and you have some legal, you know, structure to the story, then that's a different way you can also pitch that story. And I think that's the beauty of understanding what you're doing, but also bringing different elements so that you can adjust as the publishing world is moving around and wants different things. You can say, okay, this is what you want. My book is still that. So let me have a conversation understanding that.
Yeah, it's a good hook. And but after it's very important to really focus on the main one as well, because this is a great way to hook an agent. But at the end, they would choose, like you said, with the multiple genres, which one they would choose to go on the shelf. Especially if it's not genre fiction, it is more general. Is why was the magic and the beauty about incorporating multiple elements is not only you write about everything you love, but also it allows to reach out to diverse readership. I have a book, one of the mysteries is about there is a surfing competition, there is cosplay, it's a murder mystery, and she's a chef. So, and you have law. So you have a few little things that all come together. And so you can reach out different readerships. So people from different social circles, different interests can really say, "Hey, oh, that's interesting," and they will want to read more. So you just don't have a specific just mystery people. You have everybody else.
That's right. And Pete, that's one reason that the mashups are so popular is that you do have the readers from all of these different worlds, like historical mysteries. You have mystery readers, but you also have historical fiction readers who are much
Yes.
more base. And so if you're writing a historical mystery, you're going to have a larger pool of readers, potential readers.
Yeah, all the history buffs. I have people who don't read, but they read only historical
Yeah.
mysteries. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And also what's important is nowadays, I really believe as writers, we are supposed to change the world but for a better world. I mean, hopefully we're all on the same, like we want everybody to be happy and healthy and things like that. And I think it's very important nowadays to include a social issue. You don't, without being lecturing, there's someone who does that very well, and is Stephen King. He always have amazing character and despicable ones, and they are so real. Sometimes one day I threw the books throughout the room and say, I cannot believe that guy, that character. And he was in my bed with me as I was reading. And I thought, no, so this issue of social issues, because my book is about born and raised American, but in California, who wakes up from a trauma with a French accent. So she speaks with an accent. So the thread through the book is not heavy, but everybody assumes she's a French tourist on vacation because she has an accent that sounds French. It's a real neurological disorder that doesn't process language properly, so she sounds foreign. And so the issue was about, does the way we sound dictate where we belong? So this is a social issue of today. So I didn't realize that much, but I just wanted to talk about speech impediment and how people view the way we express ourselves. And that way, it allowed people to think of, It was my debut. So when people come and message me and say, I read your book, I never thought of it that way. Or my dad is struggling with an accent and he feels seen. And I was so happy because I was writing about something that I found important, but also it was a social issue. I didn't realize I was so important. I mean, it was important to me, but I didn't assume it was important to everyone. So sometimes it's very important when you write about different genres to always insert a social issue. We are very we care about. And because that social issue is going to be able to make a difference, because many people don't want to understand what's happening in the world, or with such a chaotic and so oppressing. And if you add just a little bit an ounce of it in your book, it allows people to open their mind
Mm-hmm.
and eventually consider that issue they would have never considered before.
Right, right. And writers do so much research
Yes.
to be able to talk about things. And it may be that they're going to use a sentence after all this research, but they bring that knowledge to their writing, which also can hook a reader so that, the issues that come up, again, they don't need to hit someone over the head, but they can be part of the substructure of the story and involve the reader in an unexpected way.
Yeah, and it's amazing because also we develop passions. I mean, it was not a book, it is their books, but X-Files, the series, they have a Scully effect. So many girls went into science because as girls they watch Jan and now they're women scientists.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to be able to, or I have a few people contacting me about my books, and I was very surprised when people chose it because it was about surfing, and they found the Discover cosplaying in Lay's cosplay in my book, one of a cosplayer. And so it's amazing to be able to say, because some people rely on all tropes. Okay, there's a joke and there is an artsy kid and there is this and that.
Right.
No, you can be it all and you can move between, there's no strict boundaries. And so the magic about books is when you combine different elements, you can really have people who will not meet each other and suddenly they connect with the same book. And that as writers, we are supposed to build bridges. So it gives me chills to know that, oh my gosh, and and you have that in common, and people realize there are more in common than they are different. So
Yes.
on a far further level. But yes, combining elements is very yeah, exciting. There's one thing people need to be aware of about information control. As writers, we tend to sometimes to do, oh, I know all that, and for dump.
Yeah.
So it's very important to really only use that information when it's necessary. For example, my book is a traditional mysteries with element of police procedural. There's a subplot of romance. There's element of cooking. So it's only when she doesn't talk about food all the time, but her reference can be food. But she discover a clue, she doesn't talk about all the importance about it in court or in terms of police, the procedural elements. She just say, oh, because her knowledge allows her to spot it, and she say what is important in that scene. What is very important, again, with the main spine being a mystery, you don't talk about all you know. You only use your knowledge in support of that spine. And for example, I yes, someone with a fingerprint, and she found the house was clean. There's a murder scene. Everything is clean. There's a doorknob. The house is clean except on the doorknob. There's a fingerprint. So you will say, oh, she found it. And after, yeah, you can have a line or two on house fingerprint. People always forget them because they're on their way out, but you don't mention it before the information should not be stated before or after the fact, only at a specific moment where the information is relevant. And just lightly, because again, you want those elements sprinkled throughout and not be like big chunk of it. It's like when you make a batter, you don't want chunk on batter, so everything is free. You sprinkle it there and then. And so it's important to have, so when you want to have multiple elements in your stories, just make sure if it's embedded in the character is the best. For example, a person of color doesn't move through the world like a white person. If there is an entire if you want to talk about social issue like racism, if everybody is white and the person of color comes they will feel different because there's nobody like them. You feel the isolation, things like that. So you want to make sure you don't talk about, oh, she felt different. No, maybe the person will move differently, will be careful to do things. I was just watching a presentation, a civil rights attorney, and they were talking about how the way now with ICE happening, if people start running, a person running in the airport who is white will not be perceived the same way a person of color running, because people will assume they're running away from ICE. So when you want to bring an issue, you have to be careful first to be the person, you understand that situation, or you have sensitivity readers or friends who can help you get it properly. But also, it's not about stating, it's about how someone reacts to the world and how the world is reacting to them. In my book, my character has an accent, so people say, okay, you don't leave the country. And why would I leave the country? I mean, I'm not going anywhere. And because they assume she's French, they question her competency because they assume she's French and she has no, just by the way she sounds. So it's very interesting. And I think when you combine multiple elements, you don't have to look far. When you want to talk about social issues, you don't have to go far. Talk about the best way to write and to combine elements to say, okay, I want to write about what I love. You pick 5 things. After it won't be too much. It will be too much. And write about something that irks you. Choose something that bothers you. Like, for example, my accent used to be a huge source of insecurity. I think the universe wanted me to keep it so people know who I am. But I think it's very important that I'm going to talk about that. So it's so ingrained in me. It creates so much tension, but also joy. And so write about what irks you, because when you're passionate about something, you'll find the way to explain it to the world with words and with a loving way. And you don't want to talk about something that irks you in very dragging and dark ways. I mean, you can if you write horror, but for me, I prefer it to be lightweight. At least in that mystery series, is cozy, adjacent. So I wanted people to be happy and to be humorous because there are so many issues in that context. But it's very important to write about what's so personal to you, because what's so personal to you will be personal to others. And it's very important to you will find elements to bring together, and you will come naturally. I mean, you have to work as a writer, of course, but you won't have to find what I want to talk about, because you will love what you want to talk about.
Yes, yes. And you bring up so many good points, but the conversation about doing your research,
Yes.
and don't assume you know, especially if you're talking about somebody else's worldview or life experience, but also that you don't info dump this. Readers can tell if you've done your work.
Yes.
And then you have a knowing of that topic, they know that they're in good hands. They know that you're telling them the story that needs to be told. And that I think that's a balance, but that's something as a writer you need to trust, but it's so much work to make it effortless on the page.
Yeah, and there's also a very easy way to include various elements in the same story is by the theme. The theme is very important because everything that supports the theme. I read an amazing book lately. I mean, it was so entertaining and I loved it. It's called The Change by Kirsten Miller. And I was reading it. I was working on the keynote and and I realized that book is about the menopause. There are about 3 women who investigate murders. They are very different women. One has owned a gym. One is retired and her husband passed. And the other one, she was a high executive in a ad agency and she was pushed away because she's a female. And she's a woman. So it was very interesting the fact that they come to get to know each other, but it's all about them facing life as women and advanced, not at 20 anymore. But it's interesting because one, her power comes from her feminist rage and she gets super strong. It doesn't feel paranormal, but looking back, you say, oh, I see. But when you read it, it's so contemporary and so funny. So you have humor, you have contemporary issue of the woman's place in society and the way society treats them. Yeah. And you have that woman who what it is to be physically strong, but also there's another one who has her intuition multiplies. So she has almost a power, she can almost see the future. And you have another one who can see the dead because her compassion grows. And they are signs of menopause. So it's amazing that theme, everything, their investigation into the murder of young women, and everything is around that theme. So like, for example, even in Harry Potter or even the Hunger Games, you can see the theme is like in Hunger Games, challenging social classes, challenging abusive government. Everything is through everything. It is all through. So Katniss has to look for food because she has no food. And why is there no food? Because the way the panem works, the fictional, so it's a fantasy, but it's a social issue as well. How the government controls, so she cannot get food, and she volunteers because of the government. Because let's say the main spine of the Hunger Games is survival. It's a survival thriller.
Mm-hmm.
The element is a government and the way the districts, 11 or 12 districts are set up. It's about coming of age because of age. It's about social class, social classes, because you can see each district is set differently. And so through her, she has one thing, Katniss, she's a protector. So she provides for her family by hunting. You will see everybody she connects with, she wants to protect. Her the theme of protection is there. And so it's all about survival. Oh my gosh, is she going to die? No, oops. And all the pressure on her life increase as it goes. So it's, again, the most important thing you can do is defend the spine. If you write around a romance, but at the end the guy or the woman or whoever, one of the lover dies at the end, it's not a romance.
No.
Because the romance is they come together and they go like that, and they actually they go like that. So if it's a mystery, so maybe it's a mystery with element of romance. And in my book, there's an element of romance because I feel like in life, when you talk about combining different elements, our lives are full with different elements. We have to deal with the bureaucracy of, going to the DMV, getting your passport done. We have commuting. This is everyday life. We fall in love. We have crushes. This is life. So it's normal to always add those little elements. After, it's up to you to bring them to a different level or to bring them first, in a story.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is great. And this is, you've given us so much to think about, and to talk about. So, Elle, just as a writer, what's next for you? What do you
Oh, do you want me to write on the practical? I can post. I will send. I don't know how to. I have a practical hierarchy checklist how to do things. don't 5 questions. What is a spine? So the dramatic questions that needs to be answered, whether if are they going to be ending together, are they going to end up together like a romance? Are they going to survive like a thriller? Are they going to find who killed who? The mystery.
Yeah.
After when you define that spine, which genre structure best serve the spine? So you have to say, okay, if it's a romance, should I make it a mystery spine or should I make it a romance spine? And after you ask, what do I want on that spine? This is where the secondary genre elements come. They are not content, they are contract with the reader that their contract that is going to be fun or is going to be scary, is all those things. And yes, and make sure to have your tone consistent. If your book like the Andy Meir story, The Martian, all throughout he's sarcastic, and that tone is very important to keep that tone throughout. Even if he was going to die and we are scared, he doesn't go into full panic and he swears, but in a funny way. So you have to be sure to keep the content, the tone consistent. So that's it. If you have any question, you can reach out to me at elljauffret.com. You can email me or through the contact form, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Next, I just submitted to my publisher the third and final book of the Suddenly French Mystery. And now I'm working on psychological thriller / horror, which I love. No cozy here, so it's very exciting.
That's great. Thank you so much, Elle. And I'm going to put these notes in the, and I will also put your website in the show notes. But thank you. This has been great. Thank you, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.